Hey everybody, and welcome to the show. We are just going off the cuff tonight, and we're going to talk conspiracy theories. Jeremy is excited, and I think Fernando is too. How's things going?
We're going good,
and Fernando's gone quiet.
Yeah, I wasn't speaking.
I'm just wondering because before we pressed the record button, we were talking about something, and then we got into conspiracy theory. But at this point, is it conspiracy with the files being released?
Well, they generally say that the difference between conspiracy and the truth is about 3 to 6 months or years.
Mm-hmm. Been a lot longer
duration
than
of time.
But if everybody hasn't guessed, we are talking about the JFK files, and what they are pointing to now, it seems to be that everybody seems to be still looking in different directions as to who to blame for it. But the one thing I think everybody is consistent about is that Lee Harvey Oswald didn't do it.
Imagine that, spend your life in jail for something you didn't even do.
Well, he didn't. He got shot. Jack Ruby killed him 2 days later.
There you go. Look, we've come across and spoken about this. I don't know whether it was on here or off of here. I remember having chats with you guys about there was a whole tunnels conspiracy that went with it. People came in and tested that out. They did it several times to see which was the fastest route through. The shot direction was made, they had a look at all the trajectory and everything else like that, and they went, well, it's extremely plausible that it was the shooter from here, and they went out this way. But now different stuff's coming out, and it's just shaking the boat.
Well, let me just take your minds back to when we played that, that tape on the Art Bell show, the John Lear test.
Mm-hmm. He
actually talks about the JFK assassination. He said there were actually 4 shooters.
Yes.
And he said that the CIA were involved as well as other parties. And then let me take you back to another episode that we did where I played a video of Uri Geller when he was talking about the JFK assassination. And he's actually personally briefed Jackie O on everything before, before she died and everything. But they said it was shocking and that it wasn't what everybody expected. And everything that's come out that he's had to say leads to the same thing. Now, again, I've heard different things. I haven't actually been through all of the files, but I've made it work that he's gone through them very, very, very carefully. And what he has come up with is that the CIA worked in conjunction with Mossad, the intelligence agency. I don't know if we should be saying this out loud, but they colluded to assassinate JFK because of what he was peering into.
Mm-hmm.
But I've heard other people say that there are other things coming out of these files. So, what was it? 12 million? I can't remember. It was a ridiculously large amount of files to go through and pages to go through.
Yeah, no, it was something stupid.
Yeah, I mean, you really gotta put in time to go through all of this information.
Yeah.
But thankfully, due to the internet, there's even transcripts of conversations of people that actually did it, so we could just read it. The good parts. The good parts.
That is true.
Yes. For example, some person I believe this was a interview with a gentleman, a teacher professor by Edward Miller. And the first question is, I know it took you some time to digest these documents. What did you find? Is there anything new or surprising? So the tidbits is that, there's documents difficult to read because there are no citations. It certainly feels like it's been put out in a hurried way. A lot of sensitive information, like social security numbers were put out, etc. Oswald, I remain staunchly in the Oswald did it, but didn't we just say that he did it?
Yes.
There's documents supporting that now.
Yeah.
I think they also did a census poll in the US, and something like 62% of the Americans don't believe that what they originally said had happened. As for the documentation that had been released, there was approximately 320,000 documents that have been reviewed under the 92 JFK Record Act. Well, during Trump's first administration, he promised to disclose all the outstanding records on the assassinations, but ultimately released only about 2,800 documents after the CIA and the FBI requested that thousands of pages of material be withheld pending review.
Yeah, well, I don't even know if that would have come out now, except for the fact that he said he was going to release everything if he got into office, and he obviously got into office. But they didn't forthcome. So a lot of people complained to him saying, look, you said you were going to do this. If you're not going to do this now after you promised, what else aren't you going to do? And I think that sort of kicked him in the bum a little bit, and he just said, release everything. And it all happened over a few days, apparently. And that may be to do with why it seems to have been hurried out. Let's just make everything public. But again, I'm only going off what I've read.
So when Sleepy Joe was in power as well, they released another 17,000 more records.
Jesus.
But they're all crap ones. This is the problem.
They are. They're just all nonsense.
Stuff, you know.
It's just a huge PR stunt.
Yeah. And, you know, is this a new conspiracy theory starting? Maybe they've still kept the really sensitive documents under lock and key, and they've just released everything which leads you in, well, from what I've heard, in several different directions. It's not really clearing things up, but everyone that I've spoken to is saying the same sort of thing. And it was a foreign power, and then obviously heard Mossad and Israel being involved. And then Uri Geller said that there were foreign agencies involved as well. So it makes me wonder, because he said that probably 2 or 3 years ago, and it's happening now. So did he have inside knowledge? Did he really see what he's seeing with his remote viewing and his psychic abilities? It's a really interesting topic to look at from that point of view as well.
Mm. But
I would say that would be more interesting than I actually have a personal question.
How personal are we talking?
Personal. Everybody's going all bat wild over these documents being released, and my personal, my own opinion is, why is this so important aside from it being a United States president being assassinated?
It's more what they've done to cover it up if it does turn out to be true. What else are they lying about? What else are they hiding?
Yes.
I understand that part, yes.
And then that just throws completely into the whole tact of everything. It's like you get that happening, and they're doing that to their own soldiers, their own people, their own presidents. What haven't they told you on why they're in other countries?
Well,
are they just the bully?
You think about this, right? As well as all of that, they've got powers and they have got agencies that are prepared to take out their own president.
Mm-hmm.
Who gives an order to take out a president? Who's the real power if they can take out a president? You know what I mean? That's the first one you got to think about. We've always talked about the shadow government and the new world order, and you know, the powers that be. Well, believably the most powerful man on the planet, the president of the United States, if somebody can put an order out for the CIA to work with a foreign intelligence agency to coordinate and take out a president in a public arena, and then put the fall on another guy who very conveniently gets shot the next day, and then the guy that shot him suddenly gets taken out as well, that automatically says conspiracy right there. They're taking out all the key players, so they can't fight, they can't deny, they can't defend themselves. So they paint a picture and leave it. Well, this is, you know, the lone gunman. Now, I have heard, you know, everybody talks about the grassy knoll. There was a shooter there, as well as the repository, and as well as at least 2 other locations. And then when you go back and looking over the footage of the actual shooting, if you can get a high resolution copy of it, you can actually.
It looks like the driver did it.
It happens from a few different. Yeah, his head doesn't just go in one direction. It's like he was taken out by about 2 or 3 different shots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually saw that video. It looked like it exploded. So yeah, definitely.
Look, with my experience with handling firearms, things do explode when shooting with a bullet. Like they do the way the fragments, the way the pressure builds up and throws out. You don't need more than one bullet for that to happen.
So
as for knowing about bullets, I can't say 1000% because I wasn't there. But bullets go through things, and if it's using a rifle that can shoot at that distance, you know, it'll be more than a 5.56 or a 7.62, because even still, those would go through and through.
And what was
punch
Lee
a hole
Harvey
at the back.
Oswald's rifle? Because that was an old rifle that he.
I'm not sure off the top of my head without looking. But even still, that would have left some complete damage, and they would have been able to pick up exactly where that bullet went.
Well,
Like, I think
But that's the thing.
let me just break this down and put it to you, right? If he was up in the high floors of the book repository, right, and he shot in a downward direction at the president in that car, based on the angle, that bullet should have still been in or around that car somewhere, or at least an exit hole of some sort. If you're shooting from more ground level, the bullet could be anywhere.
I mean, I'm assuming we all saw the same video.
Yeah, well, there's a few different angles on it, but yeah, there's the famous one.
Yeah, so I mean, from what I remember, how gruesome can we get on YouTube?
Well, the videos.
just be honest about it. Yeah.
All right, so the head looked like it exploded for one. So for me, it seemed like it was almost like a close, like if it was done from close.
Or a very high-powered gun, yeah.
But it like the way the head kind of exploded backwards, it kind of looked like it was from low going up, from low going high.
You base on what Jeremy was just saying about how it looks like the driver did it. Well, he would be if he got a gun under his arm, however he did it, it's from low going high, and it's going to give you exactly that trajectory.
Well, you can see in the video the driver turns around before he even gets shot.
Yeah, that's not a giveaway at all, is it?
And I'm going, hang on a second. But then you do look at the rifle that Lee Harvey Oswald used, and that was a 6.5 by 52 millimeter. Now, I know for a fact out of a 28 to a 32 inch barrel for these, they leave the barrel at 2,300 feet per second. So if you've got a 6.5 millimeter projectile flying out at 2,300 feet per second, that's going to go through and through. It'll leave a mark, but it's going to go through and through and punch a hole. Entry hole will be about that big. Exit hole will be about that big.
Which would definitely blow somebody's head up.
But then you'd have it go through the car or into the ground or into the driver, passenger, whatever.
I have a...
So you're talking about these rifles that are made, and the 6.5 by 52 is used for long range precision. They use it for shooting competitions. So
you're talking
it's
definite, not your normal sort of person.
Well, I could go in and buy one.
Oh, can you? Oh, shit. I don't know. I never have a water pistol.
Have you guys ever seen this television show? I want to say it's called The Umbrella Academy.
Yes.
All right, so they had an episode, right, where they kind of time traveled back during that time.
I remember it.
Okay. So I've heard before, and then, seeing this show kind of, obviously it's a television show. I'm not going to take it in as fact, but
Not the Umbrella Academy, no.
Oh, no. But I did either hear or read somewhere that they use almost like a cover-up kind of 007 kind of weapon to do it also. I believe in the show it was an umbrella.
The old umbrella gun.
But there were a lot of, old style, 007 kind of
gadgets.
weapon. Yeah, it looked like, I believe I saw something that was like a suitcase with a, high-powered
Firearm.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the TV show 69? And no, not that kind of 69.
And it's
63, sorry, I've got 69 on
before you go into that, Gary, just heading with the umbrella, there was actually also the Umbrella Man that was at the JFK assassination.
Sorry, I've got to get over this 69 thing. It was November 63 when he died, and so this show is called 63, and it's got James Franco in it, right? And he finds this place. It's like a lunch bar kind of thing, and he can't get over how they sell burgers for next to nothing. And he said, "How do you make money?" And what he finds out is that in the pantry of this place, there's a portal that when you walk through, you always come back to the exact same moment in 1963. It's at the start of 1963. But you come back to that same moment every time. And he goes back there, buys all of his burgers for next to nothing, comes back in, and then buys all of his meat cheap, and he sells it. And that's what starts this whole thing. Anyway, James Franco goes back in time and you can live there and everything. And what happens is he's like a teacher and he wants to change something for one of his students. They're adult students. And he goes back in time and he makes a minor change. But when he comes back, the now has completely changed because of what he's done.
Yeah.
So if he goes back again, it's right back to that same point in time. So he can fix it, but it leads on. He actually spends more and more time back in 1963 to when he realizes that it leads towards the JFK assassination. So he ends up befriending Lee Harvey Oswald, and it shows you a different side of things to try and stop the assassination. And ultimately getting there, he actually does stop the assassination of JFK. And then when he comes back to the now, expecting things to be a golden age because of, you know, what JFK was like. Everything that happens from that point, every president, you know, Watergate, all of those different things could be completely different. And the future that he comes back to is not what he expects. It's really interesting. It makes you wonder that what else, and, you know, as well as the fact that it was a conspiracy about who actually did it, and we're still trying to get to that. But what's the reasoning behind it? What were they trying to prevent from either coming out or from happening? These are even bigger things to think about now.
Yeah.
I mean, if we go down that rabbit hole, as
We always go down the rabbit hole, you know that.
yeah,
Well-
I mean, what in your opinion would be different in today's society if JFK was never?
Well, we can never
Taken
know
out.
that. We can never know that because
But your
we're not
own
living in
opinion,
that
your
world.
own opinion. You know, that is like that what if kind of question.
Well, you can kind of get an idea from what his domestic goals were. If he was one to follow through with his goals, you know, he
Yeah.
wanted more economic growth. He supported Politics of the Revenue Act, which aimed to stimulate the economy through tax cuts, social reform, containing communism, alliance for progress, global leadership. He wanted to challenge the nation to land, you know, obviously the whole moon landing and the space race. And I read somewhere else that he actually wanted to pull away from the major banks
Well,
and then
one of
start looking into their own currency. I
one
know
of
it's
the
still the
big
US dollar, but
one of the big things that he did say was that we will put a man on the moon by the end of the century, by the end of the decade. And obviously in 69, they did put, there's 69 again. They did put a man on the moon, but there's another TV show called Dark Skies, which is set back there, and it's about these couple of interns that go into Washington. They're all starry-eyed and seeing all these important people and everything. But what happens is they come across an alien conspiracy where there are actually aliens that look like you or I among us, and that they're infiltrating parts of government and stuff like that. And their research ends up getting to, I think it's Robert Kennedy or one of the other Kennedys, who then passes it on to JFK. And he actually ends up having a meeting with these guys to find out what it is. And the premise of that is that he's going to go public on the alien conspiracy on Earth. So that's why they had to take him out, because they were working with people on Earth, you know, humans, for this conspiracy to take place. And again, that's it. This is the more fun side of conspiracy theories. But
Keep on.
you know what I'm saying is that we just don't know. Everybody says, I think, was it Eisenhower? He met with aliens and everything.
I mean,
We've got that whole tape that we've played before where they talk about Jackie Gleason saw the bodies and different people know all about them. So there's a lot of people saying that there was something happening there. And then when you take into account that some of the stuff that they were talking about, the JFK assassination, in those files, you've got to go back and watch it, the John Lear test, if you haven't seen our video on that. They talked about the exact same things that are now coming out in these JFK files. So if they're now coming out in these JFK files, we know some of the other bits were already true in those files. This is the big conspiracy thing now. This is looking like it's true. What else in those files is actually true?
I mean, I was kind of hoping that, you know, with this whole event of releasing these files, because I was kind of hoping that maybe it would have had something alongside of what you was just saying right now, which is why it was, you know, such a big deal. Honestly, geez, like that. I just read a website that there was 64,000 documents.
Oh, there's all different numbers on what it is. I have another quick conspiracy theory for you, and that is, why don't they make quieter keyboards for people that do podcasts?
It's because of mechanical keyboards and I'll type what I like, thank you. Yeah, this one's for you, ready?
Ding.
Just because I'm looking for more information. But Rob, with the whole JFK thing, Rob Rayner also launched his own investigation into the whole JFK, who did it. I haven't watched all of what he had, but it seems to be that there's people finding things from everywhere. There's other videos of people saying that I shot JFK, and it's just like, hang on a second, that was released 4 months ago. What's going on here?
Yeah, and he's only 22 years old.
No, this guy's old. It's about Gary's age.
It is a very interesting. What?
You know what? I almost said in the very beginning, if only one of us at least was alive during the assassination attempt.
I'm not that bloody old. Just because I came out before they landed on the moon. I'm not talking coming out that way. Still talking about 69.
So the first Mardi Gras, what was it like?
I don't know.
That was the best Russian accent I've ever heard.
That didn't even sound Russian. That wasn't even Russian.
I don't,
Hey, man, I don't know.
I don't know.
I thought that was more like Tony Montana.
I just said I don't know.
I don't know. I need to see you, man.
Oh my god. There you go.
All right, I think we've gotten to that stage of the night.
That did not take long.
And it was me calling it this time. Am I feeling all right?
Well, we've still got another 6 minutes to go. Yeah, man.
Another 6 minutes. Well, we better get back on topic.
Minutes of crap we've got to spill out for everybody who's silly.
No, that's all right.
Yeah, let's get back on topic. What about the 69?
Like and subscribe.
Actually,
9 times.
But look, before we even get through to that part, there is one part I do have to say. I was actually out with Gary and his lovely wife on the weekend, and my daughter had found a friend to play with on the beach. So she was there building sandcastles, making concrete. Well, they called it concrete or cement with this kid. It was absolutely adorable. 2 years old. She's walked up. Hi, my name's Peyton. What's your name? Can I play? So they're playing around. So we've gone, all right, it's time to go. And this little boy's like, if you're ever here again, you're more than welcome to come play and make sandcastles with me. I'll see you later. So they said goodbye.
Before you say it, this kid is like not even 2 years old.
He's 3. No, the kid's 3.
3, isn't he? He's only young.
3 or 3.5. So then as we're to walk off, Peyton says, goodbye, have a good time. He goes, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're watching me on YouTube. That was the cutest damn thing I'd ever seen. So do that kid a favor and like and subscribe.
Wherever he is, man, we will if we find you. Before that, we were down. I can't believe I'm saying this on public, so everybody's going to know and make me feel like a right ass. Peyton wanted to go on these on the flying fox. So,
what?
You know the little kitty flying foxes that you see in the.
This is like a zip line, but metal.
Yeah, it's like a zip line kind of thing. So, Uncle Gary picks her up, and I said, "Hold on tight." And I said, "Are you holding on tight?" She goes, "Yes." I go like that, and I've got my hands just like that, just in case. And then she just goes straight down, but she didn't just jump on her feet. She rotated into
belly flop.
She belly flopped onto the sand. I felt like absolute crap, and she gets this big smile on her face and just goes running straight over at the dad, laughing and giggling.
She's come over to me, brushing, and goes, "Can we do that again?"
But yeah, she got sand in her eyes. I felt like a right dick for the rest of the day after that.
Well, there's nothing on the seagull that stole their spring roll, mate.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
All right, that's our next one.
What's that?
The conspiracies of the birds.
Mate?
Because according to the US, they're all drones.
Yeah,
they're not birds, they're drones.
The birds are
I could tell you this much: them flying pigeons in New York.
Yeah, the pigeons. Yeah, man, they're drones.
You know, especially like when they all flock together and they look like they're like one singular motion. Yeah. I've thought about that.
That is a conspiracy theory.
And what about when they all decide to shit at the same time and it always lands on your bloody car after you just washed it?
Look, birds has shitted on New Yorkers for so long that it is said if you get shit on, it's actually good luck.
I've heard that, but I don't consider that good luck.
No, what if it's an elephant bird?
Wow.
Nah, you'll have a shitty day for the rest of
Anyway.
There goes your 6 minutes.
There goes our monetization.
What monetization?
I was joking.
We need those 69 people to subscribe But if every one of you subscribes with 69 different accounts on our show, we will get to our
69
basic
cents.
monetization, which will make us a grand total of probably 12 cents a month before tax.
Well, you won't pay taxes on it if it's only 12 cents a month.
Well, we're going
Man.
to be real about that.
No.
Anyway, yeah,
There you go.
please like, please subscribe, and hit that bell notification. Then you can see when we've got other stuff coming off. It
Our
comes out
next
every week.
episode will be better.
Well, sometimes
Yes.
we just fly off the cuff. Other times we actually plan stuff. So it's weird. And we do live streams as well.
Yes, like the
Yeah,
one that
we
we did
have
last week.
We
Yeah.
have a good old time. Good old time.
All right. I think better bring things back on track and say goodbye, everybody.
I was waiting for Fernando.
I was waiting for you.
Oh, we're staying.
1, 2, 3. See you later.
Bye.